Hello, I'm Nate, aka B-Tier Mutineer, and today I'll be showing you what I consider to be the top 8 essential mods for Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins came out in 2009, and that means it didn't get enough patches to fix all of the bugs and balance issues it had. It's a bit buggy at times, and I'd say especially so for people who aren't used to playing older games. Players nowadays have different expectations, and if you come to Origins with modern expectations, you'll probably be a little bit disappointed in the gameplay experience. However, I'd say that with these mods installed, you'll have a much more pleasant time playing, and you'll be better able to focus on enjoying the story, characters, and world that Dragon Age has to offer. Before we start, one thing to note. When you install Origins, you'll also have to find and install the 4GB patch, also called the LAA patch. There are guides online for how to do that for each version of the game, so just Google Dragon Age Origins 4GB patch or Dragon Age Origins LAA patch, and you can figure it out. The reason I'm mentioning this is that without the LAA patch, the game struggles on newer hardware and operating systems, and it will crash a lot, and in some areas of the game, it may even stop you from being able to continue. So please do install the patch so that you can play the game with minimal crashes. Now, let's get into the mods. The first 3 are in the category of bug fixes and tweaks. Qwinn's Ultimate DAO Fixpack is the quintessential mod, pun intended, for Dragon Age Origins. If you were to only download one mod from this list, Qwinn's Fixpack is the one I recommend. It's the biggest mod by far on the list. It has tons of bug fixes attempting to address all dialogue, quest, scripting, plot, and most item bugs in the base game, fixing more than 850 bugs. It also restores any cut content that is consistent with all existing content, and that doesn't appear to have been cut for any other reason than time or budget constraints. Dain's Fixes is a one-stop shop for all mechanics-related fixes in the game, plus some quality-of-life changes, cosmetics, and mild balance tweaks. Where Qwinn's Fixpack is all about quests, dialogue, and plot, Dain's Fixes is more interested in combat and various mechanics. The cool thing about this mod is that it's modular, meaning that other than the required core folder, you can look through the folders and choose whichever fixes and tweaks you're interested in. For someone not very familiar with the game or modding, I recommend going the conservative approach of only keeping the core folder and bugs fixes. Personally, I use about 90% of Dain's fixes, even from the extras that are included as an optional download. Do be aware that a few of the bug fixes that Dain Fixes includes are a bit balance changing, meaning that certain monsters become a little bit more powerful than before. For someone like me who is used to the base game balance and monsters behaving in a certain way, I actually had to remove some of those monster abilities and monster bug fixes because it made the game unplayable for me. I had no idea how to play against those monsters. But that's the good part of the mod. Everything is modular, so I could even remove some of the bug fixes that I found particularly unsuitable for my playstyle. Advanced Tactics fixes various bugs in the tactics system and the behaviors of party members and AI. It will implement the fixes in the main campaign, Awakening, and all other standalone DLCs for Origins. If you install this mod and have ongoing games, please note that you'll have to go into your tactics menu to rewrite your tactics so that they all function correctly with the fixes implemented. I think this mod is amazing because despite the tactics and AI behavior system being quite good in Dragon Age Origins, there were certain problems that the developers never got to fix, and those bugs definitely make the game feel a little bit janky at times. The next category of mods is Immersive Improvements. What I mean by this is that these will improve your gameplay experience while doing so in an immersive manner. Immersive DLC Integration distributes DLC items throughout the game in lore-appropriate spots, instead of dumping them either in your starting inventory or in the shopkeeper's inventory at your party camp. This makes the game more balanced because you won't have access to the overpowered DLC items from the very start, as well as adding some nice flavor to the areas you explore, because you'll find cool, lore-friendly items in those places. It also balances the feast day gifts and pranks so that a personal gift gives +10 to approval, while a prank gives -5 to approval. This mod is modular, just like Dain's Fixes, so if you want to have a certain DLC item at the start of the game, instead of waiting to get it, you can choose to delete that specific item from the mod. You'll get it as usual at the start of the game in your inventory or in Bodan's shop as per the original game. In my opinion, the game just isn't as fun to play if you start with a veritable armory of amazing gear in your inventory, even if some of them have higher attribute requirements. This mod does an amazing job of incorporating the DLC items into the game as if they were a part of the game to begin with. Dexterity Light Armor makes it so that all of the light armors in the game have dexterity requirements instead of strength requirements at higher tiers. Personally, I think it's really weird for higher tiers of an armor of the same type, light, medium, heavy, or massive, to have an even higher stat requirement than the previous tier of armor of the same type. It's not like a steel heavy armor is going to be heavier than a gray iron heavy armor. At least, I don't think so. But on top of that, it makes no sense for light armors to have a strength requirement anyway. Rather than remove requirements altogether, which would unbalance the game, this mod implements dexterity requirements for light armors. I think this is a great compromise, since overhauling the entire stat requirements for armors would be a lot of work. Rogues are mainly interested in wearing light armors, and they put points into dexterity anyway, so it's very easy to reach the dexterity required for the highest tiers. Lockbash is the first ever mod I installed for Dragon Age Origins. I was sick and tired of not being able to unlock chests and doors because I didn't have a rogue in my party, and it made no sense that I couldn't at the very least bash a door open. Lo and behold, after a bit of searching, I found Lockbash, which lets warriors and mages open locks by attacking them. What I like about this mod is that it doesn't just let you open things willy-nilly. You have to have enough strength or dexterity or magic to be able to break the lock open, and there's a chance to lose some or all of the items in a chest that you bashed open. The mod is configurable, you just have to follow the instructions written in the mod's description page, and you can change the difficulty of the locks, the attribute checked for each class to determine if they can bash open the lock, as well as the chance for items to break. You can even remove the chance to break if you'd like. The final category is perhaps not so immersive improvements. No starting abilities removes the starting abilities that the game gives you in character creation based on your chosen race, class, and origin, and instead gives you those points to freely choose abilities for yourself. It's perhaps not the most immersive mod, as it's changing the starting abilities the devs intended for each race, class, origin combination, but personally I think players should have the freedom to choose whatever starting abilities and skills they want. If you're a beginner, I may not recommend this mod until you've played at least partway through the game or you've watched some build guides, because when you're unfamiliar with the game, you could make some really bad build choices with your abilities that might get you stuck early on. But once you feel at least a little bit comfortable with the game's combat, get this mod to start your playthrough with the freedom of choosing whatever starting abilities you want. Expanded Inventory does exactly what it says on the tin. It expands the max inventory space to the maximum of 125 that the game allows, so that you don't have to waste your money to buy backpacks from various merchants and struggle to go and sell off loot that you get from the floor every single time your inventory fills up. Keep in mind that when you start a new game, you will have to save and then load the game for this inventory expansion to take place. After the first save load, the inventory capacity will remain at the maximum of 125. These were my top 8 essential mods for Dragon Age Origins, but as a parting gift, I have one more mod to share with you. The Spider Becomes Rock Arachnophobia Begone mod by Commander Strawberry. I have terrible arachnophobia, and I've tried all of the spider replacement mods out there for Dragon Age Origins. Most of them try to replace the model of the spider with the model of a different monster, such as a bear, a deep stalker, or something else. I found that with those mods, the game tended to crash in certain areas that had spiders, and it became pretty annoying. So I looked for alternatives, and I found this Spider into Rock replacement mod. It looks pretty funny because there are actual rocks that are moving towards your party and attacking you, and they also stretch in funny ways when they drop down from the ceiling. But personally, I think that's part of the charm of this mod. There's also an optional download that removes the spider noises. I know those noises can be very uncomfortable for some people. I personally only used the model replacement as that was the only thing bothering me, but if the particular spider chattering noises bother you, know that that's also an option for this mod. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look into my top essential mods for Dragon Age Origins. This has been B Tier Mutineer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.